Welcome to my channel. This is Rashida Silvertree here. So let's just jump right into it. Intelligence, the power of intelligence, the spectrum of intelligence, the genius level of intelligence, the limitations of intelligence. Let's just dive right in. Since I am in the cerebral world of education, why not? Last few videos have been kind of like diving a little bit more like deeper into my personal life experiences, and I don't mind sharing from time to time, but I do want to make sure that I keep the vibe that I have on here regarding philosophy and consciousness and spirituality and love and da 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 da, all those beautiful, wonderful things. If you are new here, welcome, wholeness to you. If you are coming back, wholeness to you. And may this message find you well and whole. So, intelligence. I've learned something very profound in my studies so far. So yes, I am in grad school for education, and I am also taking supplementary courses in professional development to, become a more well-rounded, more knowledgeable, educator, okay, a teacher. And one thing I did not, and I was not aware of, and it was one of the lessons earlier this week I completed, that was part of my professional development, is how our brains are naturally wired. Like the natural way on how the brain, the human brain, processes information, input and output, right? And it's not in alignment for how this, like our society and our systems that we run, it's not in alignment at all. I learned this week, according to Letters, it's called Letters, look into it, it's phenomenal. It's a whole new, I'm not gonna say whole new system, I don't think it's been around a long time, but it deals with reading on a in phonetics, in just a different way, different system, in order to create more fluent and more, stronger readers and literate students, writing and reading comprehension and context clues and all the wonderful things. This is what I discovered this week. I had no idea. I really didn't. Our alphabetic system, okay, which I am aware of, all right. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather was obsessed with history and language and culture and race. He had a little den. I think I mentioned this before in one of my videos. He kept books on, etymology and different religions and race and race and sex. That's like a whole series that he had. I collected several of his dictionaries. He had a German dictionary, Latin, Greek, French, Spanish, Arabic. He had all of that, and he would just be in his studying, things. And I just thought he was such an intellectual, a hidden intellectual, but I love that about him. And so I kept those dictionaries for a long time. And then it was like after he passed, he transitioned, I kept those with me for a really long time because there's part of me that is a linguist. I love languages. They come very easily to me. And so, yeah, so I had no clue. Our brains are naturally designed to internalize information and process information through pictograms, through hieroglyphs, ancient Egypt, pictograms, right? They would paint and draw images to tell a story. A whole image would tell, 1,000 words. That's an actual saying. Like a picture, is worth 1,000 words, right? And that is how ancient Mayans did it. That's how the ancient Egyptians did it, and even with Chinese characters, right? Because that's how our brains process information. We are not naturally built to read or write using the modern day alphabetic systems, which I think, if I can remember correctly, I don't have my textbook with me, but it's less than 5,000 or 2,000 or 1,000 years. Not very long. And I always thought or believed that readers who couldn't read well, writers who couldn't write well, individuals who couldn't comprehend, I never thought that they were stupid or that they had a disability. I've always believed that their brains were wired differently. And that is a very, very profound for me. For those of you who know or who are aware of this, that our brains are actually not wired to read and write, please share your thoughts and opinions on what and how that made you feel. I mean, especially if you're an educator or you're a teacher in some form, in some way, with children. I'm just blown away by it, because what I'm seeing in the classroom compared to what I'm learning in this letters program, especially working with older children, right? Pubescent kids, adolescent children, kids in between 12 and 14 years old, okay? It's quite a shocker what I see in the classroom, okay? But I want to just dive a little bit deeper into how our brains are wired. So we have, you have ancient Kemet, you have the ancient Rome, okay, Latin, or the Romans, the Greeks, the ancient Sumeria, the and the ancient Kemet, or Egypt, but ancient Kemet, right? And over millennia, they shortened these systems and they built an alphabet that we use, right? And so it's we've created this system that goes against our nature of how our brain processes information. I know I'm probably sounding a bit redundant because I'm still processing a 6-hour, yes, I said 6-hour lecture. I had to sit through Thursday. And, but it was cool because it was informative. I liked it. It was educational. I asked questions, right? But it was a lot on top of everything else. And so what I'm seeing in the classroom, and then learning about how we're forcing this unnatural system for the past few thousand years, which isn't a lot, right? The lack of confidence and self-esteem. See, 13, 14 years old, that's your hormones, your body's changing. It's just, you're a kid, and then boom, it's like your body starts doing weird things. It's a time in a human life where things move quickly and changes happen, and you can't. It's a hard time. It's a challenging time for the child and for all the adults involved, right? And brain and intellectual development it's just a lot's going on between 12 and 15 years old. And so what I'm seeing in the classroom is self-esteem is shot, self-confidence is shot, real like negative self-talk, like to self-talk, meaning they've learned that they have some intellectual limitation. Thus, and then there are the results from that, from the assessments that they take over time, over the years, since like probably first grade, and year after year after year, they're becoming more and more involved in the meetings between administration and teachers and parents, solidifying this belief that they have an intellectual limitation, right? Disability, I don't like that word, but a limitation, okay? And so they believe, it becomes like a core belief that there's something wrong with their brain. Make it make sense for me. Please, I want somebody down in the comments to try to help me with this. For thousands and thousands of years, human beings use pictographs or pictograms. Okay, I'm still learning, so bear with me if I'm making mistakes with the terminology. And over millennia, then whoop, we just start to evolve and we shorten everything. We kind of dumb things down. Because I believe if one can look at a picture and interpret it in a much, we interpret information much faster through images than we would through reading and writing. Through reading and writing, we have to be we have to be incredibly specific on the idea that we're trying to communicate. In order for nonfiction or fiction, any kind of storyline to make sense to the reader, it has to be concise. It has to be concrete. It has to be exact. Even with abstract creative writing, you have to be exact in what you're trying to say in order to, convey your thought to another reader to interpret what you're saying, what you're trying to say. With pictures and images, it's open for interpretation. But the amount of information that comes through a photo or a picture or an image is a whole lot more information, right? A whole lot more information in many different ways that information can be interpreted. It becomes limited. We limit ourselves through this fixed system where we use the alphabetic system, right, for reading and writing, reading comprehension, and for documenting our ideas, right? And so things are beginning to make sense to me because a lot of the learning disabilities that I'm seeing, and yes, I have to use the phrase disability, okay? Learning disabilities I'm seeing in the classroom, and then knowing that the human mind isn't naturally wired to read and write, and it is a learned skill. Reading and writing takes many years to master. It is something you have to have a strong foundation in, and you build off of it, just like mathematics, right? And not everyone's brain is wired to do something unnatural. But we label them as disabled, right? Or learning disability, right? And it makes sense because in our modern day society, we need something to measure comprehension. We need to measure things. We need to label things. We need to categorize things in order for us to make sense of the chaos of life. This is a very interesting and intriguing topic to me, right? But intelligence, how does intelligence fit into that? Did human beings dumb ourselves down from walking away from the pictograph and the image and how we would carve images in stone that are still very difficult to understand even to the most advanced researcher and doctor out there, because it's so open for interpretation. No one really has the answer. They can do is analyze and criticize from other data collected. It's fascinating to me. Yet we have our alphabetic system, which is the reading and the writing, and we try to stick these kids into this mold of thinking. And one of the trainers, she literally said the term, we have to rewire their minds to read and write and to fit into this system. And then they struggle year after year after year. Sometimes it clicks for them and they start, boom, they do well. But usually, that's why you have grade school, you have elementary, you have primary school. Those primary years are pivotal in this current modern day educational system. It's pivotal. If anything, I would recommend putting a kid in well, I'll save that for another video. I gotta be careful how I word things, but yeah, pivotal. If they are missing huge chunks, okay, and of the fundamentals in reading and writing in the first 6 years of school, even all the way back to preschool, really, and on top of that, their brain is wired differently, they're going to struggle. And what I see is a lot of these kids keep getting funneled through the system. By the time they're 7th or 8th grade, oh man, like it's scary, it's sad, the reality that I'm seeing. Because there's, in education, there is this idealistic, like, perfect world of how things should go. Right? This is the high expectation we have for you educators. Then there's reality. Like the day-to-day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 3 to 4 o'clock, daily grind of like a classroom setting. Gen Ed, honors classes, advanced placement, or special education, or intensive or mild intervention. It doesn't matter. Like there's a day-to-day grind that teachers and kids and students are a part of. Right? So I'm looking at this, I'm like, so the system is teaching an unnatural system that goes against the very natural nature of the human mind. And then it deems a human being to have limited intelligence in some form because they're wired differently. And I'm like, maybe it's not that they're wired differently, it's that we're enforcing a system that's not in alignment of what's natural. And just because someone can't read or write well doesn't mean that they lack intelligence. And these kids, on a fundamental level, truly believe that they have limited intelligence. They truly believe that they're broken. Look, I started out in the game in elementary school. I dabbled a little bit with high school kids in English, right? Where that's all you're doing in high school. You're writing a lot. You're writing a lot of papers and you're reading. Reading. That's all you do. Middle school, it's not as hardcore. Depending, it really depends. It depends on the educational system and the district that you're in. Some districts get more money. There's private schools, charter schools, Montessori schools. Come on, homeschooling, right? It is it's just, I just want to observe this, because and what it truly means for childhood development and self-esteem, and how the self-awareness. People are like, I don't want to teach them badass kids. Badass kids. Little kids are bad, 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 bad. If you truly believe that something in you is broken, then that means you're no good. And if that becomes a core subconscious belief, then that means that, well, if I'm not good, I'm bad. And so if I'm bad because I'm broken, then I'm going to act bad. I'm going to live up to it. Thus, you have severe behaviors. That's not the only reason why there are severe behaviors that block a lot of teaching and education, but I'm seeing now on a fundamental level why part of a small percentage of why society is the way that it is. The quality, well, I don't even want to get into the quality of education. It's primarily just this, like, becoming aware that the human brain is not meant to write or read in that sense. It's capable because we train it. And that is the power and magic of the human mind, is that we can literally train our brain to do unnatural things. It's amazing. We can literally train our brain, just like how we're training our minds and our brains to use digital devices. And we're not digital, we're organic. But we're literally subconsciously training our brain to think and be wired like a computer. The chip is coming. Call me crazy. Go ahead. Call me crazy, but I know I see what I see in the classrooms. I see what I see. I see it within myself. I see it with adults, grown adults, with the digital devices. You call it what you want. Convenience? Fine. That's a safe word. Go ahead. Convenient. It's convenient, Rashida. There's nothing wrong with it. It's normal now. Get with it. It's been 20 years. Come on. I see what I see. To label oneself as broken and thus I am bad, and then I'm going to, it manifests into poor behavior in the classroom, right? I've had several of my students, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm broken. I had one student today say to me, I have nothing to give. I have nothing to offer. It was just a normal assignment we were doing in science class. I'm co-teaching it, and he literally looked me in the face because he sat there and did nothing. He needed a pencil, he needed resources, he needed a textbook and paper. He asked for nothing and just sat there. And I went up to him and said, why are you just sitting here? Why aren't you asking for the things that you need so that you can do the assignment? I can't offer anything. You tell me, you guys tell me below. How does one reach a child who believes that they can offer nothing? But we're forced by this, well, not forced, but we're forced by the state to say, hey, we need you guys to work harder to get those test scores up. But yet you have kids saying that. Come on. You have kids saying that? I can't offer anyone anything. So what's the point of doing this? And he was depressed. He was sad saying it. It was the most like, oh my God. And it's not about race. That's its own. We'll get there. Not in this video. Probably not ever, because it's a whole thing with that. But brown kids are saying it, black kids, white kids, doesn't matter. All of them. have such negative talk. And I'm thinking, and I asked him, I said, who told you that? Like, who told you you have nothing to offer? Someone said that to that boy. He heard it from somebody. He heard it from somebody. And I'm like, oh my, I just, and so when I'm learning on a professional development level, right? Hey, guess what? The human brain isn't even wired to do this shit. But we train it to do it. And then we label the kids, we label the students from early on in their educational years, like, hey, yeah, so we're gonna need you're struggling with this. So we're gonna give you some extra help to a system that is unnatural to our natural mind. Wow. So yeah, I don't want to. I just this is I guess more of a reflection on the intellect and the natural wiring of our brain. And my question is, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why do we have it set up? Is it really to build to be successful? Is it a form of control? Because a mind that can draw hieroglyphs, right? I don't know if I'm saying it right. Right? The pictograms from ancient Egypt and the Mayans, they would carve their pictures in the stone. And the Chinese, Mandarin, and Cantonese characters, right? I would say that they use more of their brain when processing, right? I would imagine. And yes, you do use your brain when you're reading and writing. It is a beautiful skill to read and write. It's beautiful to literally put down your thoughts through, like, your ideas through your hand and write them out and use symbols, which we call letters. It's amazing. I'm not downplaying that at all. It's brilliant. But with the increase of a lot of the learning disabilities and the introduction of the digital age and all the other things I haven't even listed, all the changes in society, wow, I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated, really. There's at least about 3 or 4 or 5 doctoral dissertations just from my experience working there for 2 months. Like, I'm just like floored. There's so much. There's so much going on. It's so multi-layered. And it's easy for me to understand burnout now. It's easy for me to understand why things are the way they are. Then we pump these kids through the system and give them slap a diploma in their hand and say, go out there and be somebody. And this is the core of their belief. I suck and I'm bad and broken. I don't know how to read or write. So what do I have to offer the world? This is, people want to point fingers. Oh, it's the teacher's fault. It's the kid's fault. It's the parents' fault. It's everybody's fault. It's the governor's fault. It's superintendent's fault. It's everybody's fault. I don't believe in pointing fingers. I feel like I manifested into this life to observe and absorb and to learn and to teach through many different forms, many different ways, through my professional and private interactions with other human beings. So I'm grateful for this opportunity. But I question, with our natural mind, why do we enforce unnatural skills? That's the question I'm going to ask you. I'm just curious. For those of you who have an inquisitive mind, or those of you who are in the world of academia, or you like to read a lot, you like to research a lot, you write your own stories, you're an author, right? Or you struggled in school and you're just like, puh, I hated school, hated reading and writing. I'm an artist, I do this, I do that. I want to hear it all. I'm just curious. I'll ask again, why are we enforcing an unnatural system onto our natural mind, or into a natural mind? And the easy cop out answer would be, because that's just how it is. Don't come with me with that. You can put it in the comments if you want, but that lacks substance. I'm one to question things. Ooh, and don't get me started on the digital age and the classroom. Oh Lord. I don't even From what I see in the classroom, I'm just gonna be really blunt and then I'll end this video. I would never, my kid, if I had a child, I would never, ever, they wouldn't know how to work a TV. They wouldn't know how to work a flat screen TV. They just wouldn't. The mind is not wired for digital, but we're enforcing these skills, unnatural, inorganic, synthetic skills onto our mind. I'm not downplaying reading and writing and literacy as we know it in the modern day age. I'm in the modern age. I'm not downplaying that at all. I am grateful to know how to read and write. I'm learning how to perfect, how to teach reading and writing. And my mom, I'm so grateful for all she did, exposing us to reading and writing at such a young age. But even with that, I question, why are we enforcing synthetic skills in our organic mind and organic brain when our brain isn't built to process information this way? Like, what's the intention behind this in the past past thousands or 2,000 years, 5,000 years, however long the alphabetic system has been around? Why? I believe and feel that it's probably a form of control, because you can't control someone and how someone interprets a picture, but you can control the very words and how they interpret the reading and writing. You can enforce a certain belief, enforce a certain way of comprehending that's limited compared to studying the hieroglyphs. Oh my God. Sorry if I've been mispronouncing that. My bad. Hieroglyphs. My brain's been going on. It's kind of like, it's Friday. I'm tired and I'm probably going to rest after this. But hieroglyphs. Not, I don't know what, hieroglyph. I don't know what I said. Hieroglyphs. Ancient Egypt. They had it on the wall. And you know what's funny is the researchers will go there, digging and scratching and taking pictures and studying it for many years now, many decades. Egyptologists, right? Thinking, this is what they meant. Because according to this is what they meant. This is what that means. Are you so sure? Can you be so sure? You can't. Close, but no cigar, right? That's all. That's all I got. Intellect, intelligence. Why do we enforce synthetic skills onto a natural mind that processes information differently. Like, I'll form the question, but that's all. Let me know what you think.